You're listening to Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies, the DSM podcast. We help make mental health more comfortable by using Black movies and shows we know and love and culture to remove stigma. So join our convo with your host, Courtney Copeland, licensed mental health counselor,
and Dr. B, licensed professional counselor.
What's poppin', y'all? This week, we have a very special guest. Dr. Britton had the luxury of having her favorite professional on in our Harlem Nights episode. This is my chance to have my favorite professional on. So I am so excited to welcome Dr. Erin Goodson as a guest on our podcast this week. So, Dr. Goodson, can you please tell the people about yourself, who you are, what you do, and how awesome you are?
Absolutely. Born and raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina. So Southern in my roots. Spent a lot of time in North Carolina, did undergrad at Davidson, grad school at West Virginia, studied a combination of sport, psychology, and clinical mental health counseling. Spent a year as a professor, researching student athlete development, psychosocial development of student athletes, particularly Black student athletes, and then jumped full-time into doing applied sports psych work in the collegiate setting. So I'm in my 6th year now, spent some time at Mississippi State, currently at Duke, and excited to be here and apply my lived experience and knowledge to this lovely podcast experience.
Well, now that I have all this understanding, it makes sense why we're doing this movie. Because let me tell you, friends, I hated it.
You hated it?
It was my first time watching it.
Wait, time out, guys. Can we tell the people what we're doing? So,
we can.
This episode, we are talking about the 1999 sport action film, Any Given Sunday.
Okay,
now, Dr. Britton.
Confession. When I was typing it in, I was confused because I thought this was going to be about church on a Sunday or something of the sort. What's that one movie?
Just like Willie Beeman's mama. Sundays is for church.
Some people think like football is a religion.
That's true.
Oh, so you haven't been too far off.
I wasn't too far off. I was going to come with my church hat. I was going to be ready for the festivities. And then... you know what? Don't you tempt me with a good time. And an accessory. I love a good accessory.
We do usually dress for the occasion on this show.
Usually. And
so I'm so disappointed that you did not like this movie because I love this movie. It's so
all right.
The way it's shot, the action, the editing and the cuts. My name is Willie B, man. I keep the ladies.
I feel like it is on brand for Jamie Foxx to have some type of jingle in one of his movies. So I think that saved it. Just kidding, it didn't. What saved it was an hour and a half into this long ass movie, I actually started to get the understanding and appreciation for the movie. I will say that. So by the time it ended, I did have a tear. Is that what was supposed to happen? Because it did. No? Oh.
As long as you felt something, you know what? A tear, I will take it. I don't know a tear, but if that's what it moved you to, if that's how the spirit moved in you, then I'm all right with it. I just want to get this out of the way because we do have my boss as a guest on the episode. So there's that. But cover your ears, Dr. Goodson. Dr. Britton, all of the man butt, so much man butt.
It was so much man butt. It was so good man butt. I loved it.
Okay.
That's hilarious. Thank you for calling that out. I did appreciate that. That was a good time.
So yeah, Dr. Boom, you forgot about.
And I did. And you know what? Now you reminded me that I do kind of like the movie.
If nothing else, it satisfies your voyeuristic proclivities.
Yeah.
What other quotes do either of you guys have from this movie besides, my name is Willie B, man.
My name is Willie B, man. I keep the ladies creaming and on my fan You can defeat me.
So for
And
me,
then when he couldn't find that straw.
yeah,
Oh, hilarious. That's me all the time in a restaurant trying to be cool and talk.
Oh, man. I mean, the classic quote is the speech before the last game, right?
Yes.
The Al Pacino speech and the, willing to call for that inch is the difference between living and dying, and that's what living is. I'm not going to do my Al Pacino imitation accent because it's really...
This is the place to do it because I've done many a terrible accent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It needs to be dusted off. But I think about that one. I don't know, man. I just think of it. It was such a raw football experience type of thing. Like just the quotes, like when Willie pukes in the huddle, it's like shoes. The different quotes that come to mind for me. But it's a classic in my mind for a lot of different reasons. But those two
because it's a quality film. Dr. Britton, did you hear that? He said classic.
Yeah. Sure thing.
Okay.
Well, it is.
It's Dr. Britton by the end of this that this is a classic film because I can go lawyer mode.
I think, I think I will eventually get to a point where I think it is a classic film. Listen, I usually tell the age that I was when the movie came out. So I was 9 years old. I knew nothing about football. Okay. I'm just now in this grown age understanding even what a quarterback is. And still, if you quizzed me on it, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you. Like he throws the ball. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, cool. See, look at me. I'm doing things. And I just was today years old when I realized that the lines are only on television, not necessarily on the football field where they tell you like where the yards are.
First down, but the other lines are on the field.
The other lines are there, but the first down. Yes.
Courtney, take the judgment off your face.
Okay, she loves judging me.
Like, yes, yeah.
And I try to be transparent about my ignorance. I was very ignorant to this movie. The whole concept. You know what? I will also, I think the thing that was my greatest disdain is like seeing that first part of this man getting his tail hammered. And then they're like, you'll be fine. You'll just get back up. And I'm like, this man just said he broke his back. What? I hate it here. I hate how they treat athletes. And then I went into my thing.
Well, I will. Yeah. I mean, I will. So I will, in the spirit of your disclosure of the age you were when the movie first came out, I was in a similar space. However, I think my appreciation for Any Given Sunday didn't really come until later. And really like looking at it from a sports sociology lens, a sports psych lens. And I was like, oh man, this is classic. And also like at 10 years old, did I know who Lawrence Taylor was? No. But like I look back and be like, oh, this was an early movie where they were putting football players in as actors, right? And I don't want to say they started the trend, but that is something we're seeing a little bit more of these days. So
did you know who Jim Brown was?
I had to Google it.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Britton, did you know who Jim Brown was?
No, I had to Google it. I figured he was an old athlete.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was rude.
I know.
It's telling him a little short. But
I know. A legend athlete.
Okay, and so I don't like to speak negatively, especially about Black men on this podcast. I will say that he is a legend. He has done wonderful, beautiful things for the field of sport, for entertainment, for Black people, for civil rights. However, he was a terrible person to women. And so I just have to highlight, I have to say that or my spirit won't let me not.
The whole person,
understood.
Right? Like
Yes.
The whole person.
Yes.
But two things can be true. That's what we all talk about.
Right? Yes.
So.
Yeah. And I also think depending on the number of injuries he might have had, that might have contributed to some of his behaviors. So there's that. But I also did want to say one of my quotes, okay? If you're going to be a loser, raise your hand. Because if you're going to act like a pussy, raise your hand. What the hell are you doing, Jay?
I just didn't want you to be okay. Pussy with your hand up.
Thank you.
Coach, I thought I'd help you out.
I appreciate it. Because you see, I ain't put my hand up, though. I said the court didn't have to put my hand up. That was honestly one of my favorites.
Definitely. This movie to me didn't have a whole lot of quotes, but the ones that were there were very hilarious. And just like when Jamie Foxx walked into that women's bathroom and said, "Oh my goodness, Barbara Bush." Good.
She tried real hard not to laugh. She really did. I probably would have been giggling too. Because, I feel like every take, he probably came up with something different.
Dude.
You know this.
I like that.
The other one is, Coach, calm down. You're going to have a stroke. I don't get strokes, motherfucker. I give them. Fun fact. Fuck is spoken about 117 times in this movie.
Okay.
So I can't count which one that one was, but that one counts.
I love that. And so with looking at the different quotes, some of the different people, this was a star-studded cast. All of the different famous celebrities that we had and great actors that we had in the film, with Al Pacino, Cameron Diaz, Jamie Foxx, Dennis Quaid, having LT, the football legend, Jim Brown, another football legend, having LL Cool J in the movie, Leela Rashan, Bill Bellamy, Elizabeth Berkley, just so many awesome actors in this film. I know that I had the pleasure of watching this film with my mother this time, and she was like, "I remember when this film came out, this had all the good Black actors in it. It had LL and Jamie Foxx and Bill Bellamy." She was so excited.
Context. We're here for it.
Yes.
We're here for the historical context.
I love that. And I did.
The movie.
I was excited about that because I was like, oh my God, I didn't know Jamie Foxx and LL Cool J actually did a movie together. Also, another fun fact, probably not so fun for Jamie Foxx, LL Cool J really took his role really serious.
I'm wondering when we was going to get to that.
Yeah, we talk about it. What you know about it? Tell me.
The punch.
The punch. Yes. Yeah, and he actually took out a lawsuit. Ooh, Dr. Copeland was it?
I know. And so there were several, actually. And so they got into it more than one time. There was two. And Bill Bellamy actually tells the best version of the story because he's out from the outside looking in and seeing exactly what happened. But Jamie Foxx also talked about it in one of his stand-ups where he's like, "This dolphin me." And
Yeah.
he said, "I act. Don't touch my body. I'm acting."
Okay.
And so, but Bill Bellamy does tell the best version. There is of him on YouTube telling the story several times. It's quite hilarious. He says there's footage, but no one has seen it. But I hope they kept the cameras rolling. I hope someone has that, like in their back closet somewhere. That would be wonderful. And then LL Cool J had 50 people from New York City in fitteds and Timberland boots come down to the set, and there was no recording. The set shut down for a couple days, and it was a whole bunch of dudes from Harlem on one side, and it was Jamie Foxx and his R&B singers like Tank and them on the other.
Stop! Not getting body by these R&B niggas.
Oh, that's crazy.
His R&B gangsters on his side, and it was like a whole standoff to the point where Jim Brown actually had to like seriously call a meeting between all of the important people in Bill Bellamy's trailer in order for them to get some sense about the situation and move forward and continue filming the movie.
I didn't know it was all that. I remember hearing Jamie Foxx talk about it, and he mentions in one of his stand-ups too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember hearing Bill Bellamy talk about it, but I didn't know the depth of it.
Yeah.
And it all started because folks was cracking on each other in between takes, and LL thought he could keep up with a comedian, and he tried to tell Jamie, all right.
Oh.
All right. And Jamie just kept going.
Look, he said, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. Stop making fun of me. Oh, poor little Tick. Yeah, I think that's probably why he didn't lick his lip as many times. That's probably it. It was nothing sexy about this. Not at all. He said, no, I got enough CarMax today.
Glossy.
His lip gloss was popping the whole movie. He ain't need to lick them lips. I was disappointed. But, hey, it made up for the man butt. Here we are. Oh, I said it. Sorry, Dr.
All right. And so now let's get into these diagnoses.
Yes, let's do
And
it.
so, Dr. Britton, who would you like to diagnose first?
I think we should start with the leader, the coach, Tony. I would say for his diagnosis, hear me out. I think it's persistent depressive disorder.
Tell me more.
All right. So I feel like because he's had it seems apparent to me, and I might be reading into his behaviors a little bit more, but his mood, he was always like having this low mood, feelings of hopelessness, and the emotional exhaustion. I think part of that is it seems like they were like a losing team, so maybe that could also be there. But there were signs of like his irritability, his isolation, the fact that he had to pay for a woman's company. I'm not saying that it's not, appropriate, but it does show that his level of companionship isn't there. The excessive drinking and the other strained relationship with, God, I can't remember.
His ex-wife?
Yes. Yeah. So, that's what I'm gonna say for right now and see what you have to say.
I completely agree and just added a Z code with uncongenial work environment and relationship stress with spouse or intimate partner, even though I don't know if you can technically count that because it sounds like they were no longer married. But he's like, we have grandchildren, like, and wanting to be a part of the children's and the grandchildren's life and him really missing them and missing that relationship and calling her at 3 a.m. when he drunk. Sir, get off my line. Go to sleep. But I agree with your diagnosis and added those additional Z codes as well. What say you, Dr. Goodson?
And y'all took the entire context in more than I did. I was thinking just kind of like a never-ending adjustment disorder.
Tell us more.
Yes.
like just from what it portrayed in the movie, there were so many different changes and stressors to have to adjust to that just never came to fruition, right? Just several stressful life events or reminders of past life events, stressful life events. I think that was what came to mind for me. And then just the context of the last season, and he has, Willie Beeman over to the house and reflects on how he's messed up and all that stuff. So I really like you all's diagnosis better than the one I came up with. I was like, it's just a series of stresses this man can't escape.
Yeah.
And he also just is not handling them well. He's not recovering from each one.
Yeah.
And I don't know where Coach Tony is supposed to be from. I know that he very much so styled this character after Pat Riley. But it really, really bothered me that he called it jambalaya.
There were several things that he said that bothered me, especially, and I'm glad, that's the thing about Willie, Jamie Foxx's character, is that he was very knowledgeable and self-aware. So it was really hard for me to give a diagnosis for him. But when he called him out on the fact that he's like, yeah, you talk to me, you talk at me, and you're telling me, oh, imagine I'm in the hood playing football. Like, that irritated my soul when I heard him say that. Like, why would you even think that's a way to relate to him? And then just the conversation.
Why?
I know. The conversation at the house also pissed me off because it's like, you invited me over here to tell me I am just a quarterback. Okay, cool.
You know what really pissed me off?
What?
The conversation on the plane. I lost my dad. Minding my business. Bothering nobody. You gonna come over here just assume I ain't got no daddy because I'm black, and then tell me that your daddy died, and we should relate over that. Show my face.
Okay, this ain't the 3rd of September. All right, I don't care. Goodness gracious. But okay, so all right, I might be jumping ahead. What do we think is the prognosis for Coach Tony? I mean, he gave a wonderful speech at the end of the movie. Was not expecting that. that was like, whoa!
I'm going to Arizona and I'm taking Willie with me.
Yeah, I think that's why I had the tear moment, like, oh wow, this is so beautiful. They won. And I was like, game over. And then it was like, no, just kidding. And then there's that.
That brought you to tears? I love that.
No, before, yeah, I was like, they won. He caught it.
The reconciliation or like the
More so like because of the heightened, like tense moment of him catching the ball and him like wondering if he actually made the touchdown, which is technically not the case. I learned also doing some research and Googles. Like once you in there and you catch it in the end zone, it's technically a touchdown, but they was making it seem like if he didn't have the ball, then it wouldn't have been a touchdown, right?
Yeah, so if he didn't have secure the ball, so there, if you don't have like either if the ball is wobbly, we didn't know that, and from technically because he caught it, but then he had to jump over the people and could have lost it before he actually crossed the end zone. Both feet got to be in, knees down. It's a lot that goes into it. But, I appreciate the Googles that you did, girl. And just to share, I think it was the score that brought you to tears. You very emotionally tied to music. So they just had to add a little violin in there and you was going to cry.
It was just one tear. It was a little thug tear, Yes.
I mean, it speaks to, just because it's going to a different place doesn't mean the context is going to be different. Right? And so I think the stresses of being a head coach in a pro sport league and how you handle the stress, as we mentioned, he ain't handled the stress well at all at any point in time through the movie. Unfortunately, doesn't lead me to have a positive prognosis about how things are going to go.
Okay.
You gotta develop the coping strategies and have the coping mechanisms in place. You can change location and scenery and vantage points all you want to, but if you ain't got them coping skills and mechanisms with you, then kind of just kicking the can down the road. So
that's true.
Wherever you go, there you are. And unless you do the work on changing you, there you will be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that is a great segue into then what will that mean for the future and our diagnosis for Willie Beeman. I'm sorry, I have to say it like that each time.
Every single time.
So he is one that I did give adjustment disorder adjustment disorder to with disturbance in emotions and conduct. And so him adjusting to being a third string, never getting off the bench, not seeing the field, he's eating chips and reading a newspaper on the sidelines to then being starting quarterback. That's a big adjustment. All of the things, all of the dynamics that changed. And the politics that went along with that. He's now getting all of this different recognition. He is getting endorsements. People are wanting to talk to him. He's getting interviews. All of that is very new to him. And I think that he very much so struggled with that first bit of adjustment. And we see that in how he is speaking about the defense and how he is interacting with Vanessa, his girlfriend, who he is in a relationship with. It was Vanessa, right? That's her name. Am I saying that correctly? Okay. Because, we tear up some names. But we see all of those different dynamics play out. And so, but I think that as far as if we think about prognosis, as far as his adjustment and emotions and conduct, the defense did teach him a lesson by letting him get his ass handed to him time and time again.
I think he learned. Sawing his vehicle in half was like a good start.
It was a good start, but he didn't really get it. He needed driven all the way home. And which they did. And I think that he learned the lesson there. I think we see him trying to reconcile his relationship with Vanessa. Whether or not she chooses to take him back is her business, because that's her business. But we see him kind of recognizing where he went wrong in that situation and trying to make amends. But my concern with him going forward is he keeps trying to tell Coach, hey, my arm is killing me. And Coach does not listen. And so there very much is the opportunity for Willie Beeman to be the next one who is losing his spot to the next man up because he is experiencing some form of pain, injury, something that's impacting his performance in sport.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that. I don't really have anything else to add. Beyond that, I think this, yeah, like the success definitely got to his head, and the performance. I think what stood out to me the most was how often he threw up. Like, yeah. And that was a thing where they were like, we haven't seen that before, the commentators. Like, and I don't think I've seen it as a spectator to be like, oh, yeah, that's normal.
And unfortunately, it is. I had an athlete who threw up before every game. But that is part of why I went with disturbance of emotions and conduct, with both emotional symptoms presenting. Well, you can have both emotional symptoms presenting, and it can come as a form as anxiety. And that anxiety is what I felt like what we were seeing with him having to throw up the nerves in order for him to be able to perform.
Yeah.
Why was it green?
He threw up them chips for sure. And but also he had spinach probably that day.
Every day? Before every game? That was his pregame meal?
I think they needed
it was them damn smoothies. It was them Willie Beeman smoothies. That's what he was throwing up.
That's it. It makes sense now. It wasn't just a jambalaya.
It wasn't just a jambalaya.
That was disgusting.
And so my question is, Dr. Goodson, if you were the sports psychologist for the Sharks, how would you be working with Willie?
I was thinking a lot about the anxiety piece of the adjustment disorder that you talked about, and thinking about state anxiety versus trade anxiety, right? So how do we treat performance anxiety? I mean, it's interesting. The film tied in a little bit of what could be loosely interpreted as visualization. I would try to go more visualization true to form, and also probably focus on pregame routines, rituals.
Not drinking no smoothies before the game. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna kick that one to the nutritionist, but I'm gonna go with some things that address kind of the somatic concerns, though, right? Because that's throwing up is a somatic response or psychosomatic response.
I have a question. So with the team drama, right? Like with them, like not having, I guess him being a leader in a sense, and they're having this discord where there's tension with everyone. The offense is having to teach him a lesson. Do you all ever get involved with bringing back camaraderie and teamwork and things like that as sports psychologists, or is that something that you just make just individualized?
I mean, it depends on the relationship with the team and the culture of the sport. And I would say outside of football, that is something that a sports psychologist that has a closer relationship with the team would be pulled into.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Football is its own beast. It has its own culture. There's a lot of intensity there that folks would feel like you getting involved is going to feel more kumbaya than kind of just drilling it into people's heads. And then they eventually come together, or they continue to fall apart. So it really does depend on the sport, and it depends on the professional's relationship with the team.
Gotcha. So what would you have done for the team, if at all, with getting them back on track with each other?
No, I don't know if that team was too far gone for me or not, to be completely.
That's real.
The thing about pro sport is it's such a different context than college. I think college has something you can put an anchor in the ground, and you can kind of have people tie it back to part of this developmental experience in their lives, whatever. Pro sport, people are here to get this bread, and it's their livelihood, right? Just like we saw with the bonuses that came from getting certain yardages, which getting a certain number of sacks. Like, you ain't trying to hear about team cohesion. I'm trying to get what I need to get so I can live and I can feed my family. So I don't know. I don't know what I would have done. I think reflecting on it quickly, there would have been a chance to be in the defensive room. I don't think there's have both parties in the same space. Like, I don't think that would have worked. But I think there's a space to kind of address each group or subgroup separately. You try and tie it back to team culture, team values. You have people that have been on the team for a super long time, and then you have, of course, Willie and his novelty. But there are also some things that sports psychology professionals, we just agree we won't touch.
Yeah,
we will be here to engage with the fallout, but we're not going to jump in there and try and fix it. It teeters on that line, or it falls into that category.
Understood. Thank you for that.
And so if you had, if Coach came to you, Coach told you, it's like, I'll do my ugly impression. Julian and Beeman. And he wanted, and they were continuing to get into these fights, these physical altercations, because there was a fight in the locker room where LL Cool J knocked the hell out of Jamie, as he did in real life too. Would you be open to some level of mediation if it had gotten or risen to that level between those two individuals? Or is that something as a sports psychologist where you're like, them as two grown ass men, they can figure out how to coexist?
Again, depends on the closeness with the team. I think I'd probably defer more to a coach consultation, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes in and I got these two guys and see how bad my impression is.
I like it. I love it.
These two guys, I would be more open to sitting down with the coach and trying to gather context from them about what they're seeing or how are they reinforcing the values that they hope both of these individuals will carry out, than to try and get the two individuals in the room. And, that's going to be dependent on how much information and context coach can actually give me. Because sometimes the coaches know they just want it to stop, but they don't really know the context. They don't know the full story about why these two people are beefing. They might agree with one person as compared to the other. The coach plays such an instrumental role in this that's the direction I would go, as opposed to trying to get the two individuals in the room. And then it's like, I think my effectiveness is going to be minimized. I'm the person in the room trying to have this kumbaya moment. Like, coach, you need to be the one. You need to coach them effectively to talk about what effective coaching looks like in the midst of conflict. But I don't think I'm getting in the room with them.
And while we are in that space kind of consultation and that level of support that you can provide, not just specifically to athletes, what do you think that Cameron Diaz's character would have done well with having a strategist, a performance consultant to work alongside, to have some conversations with, in her stepping into that new role and taking over for her father as team leadership?
100%. I think, whether it be someone with a mental health background, or it be a performance consultant, or it be an executive coach, which I know there's like overlap in the Venn diagram with all three of those, but some sort of external support would be really beneficial. When you think about pro sports, a lot of times people don't recognize that it's not just the athletes on the field, that we're talking about a high performing organization, right? Just like the athletes can benefit from some mental health, some sports psych, or some everything in between support, that you have the coaches, the front office, and those people that could benefit in a similar way, even though their day-to-day is going to look different than, physical component of the sport. Because it's intense. It's intense. Emotional regulation strategies and understanding, what kind of culture you're trying to reinforce, and interacting with people on an interpersonal level, that you're gonna get what we saw in the movie. And nasty to each other, and we all have the same goal, but the way we talking to people, talking about it, making the snide comments. I ain't resolved my issues with my dad passing my mama over here drunk with the dog. It's like she needs some support, right?
She did.
So that I do agree with that. That it's beyond the athletes when you think about who can benefit from the support of a mental health professional or performance psychology professional, or even executive coach, because it's, again, we talk about people's livelihoods out here. So
absolutely,
very much so. I think that that dynamic was very interesting to watch, and seeing Cameron Diaz as a young Woman in the film as Miss Panchinati. Pagnanati. Y'all know what I'm trying to say.
Don't ask me, child, because I'm gonna chop and screw that thing like it ain't nothing. I'm just gonna call
Seeing
it.
her navigate in such a male-dominated field, especially higher up in leadership, kind of navigating those dynamics, it was very interesting. A homegirl needed a mentor. She needed an advisory team. She needed something. She needed some support.
Which was gonna be hard to find in the late 90s, but
I mean, because I feel like she was like the first woman in a lot of ways. Like, she was trailblazing at the same time and creating a pathway for other women to be able to even have a role like that. And I even feel like that also contributed, not to go back to Coach Tony, but I think that contributed to his work-life, balance and satisfaction as well. Because, I mean, she straight up was like, yeah, you weren't cut for this, so that's why you didn't get it. And it's like, wait.
My dad could have made you the GM, but he didn't, because you didn't have the balls.
You ain't get it. Wait, okay.
Because you ain't
with that on the masculinity piece too, which is interesting, right? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, I think about, eventually we're going to find out more about this, right? But isn't there a show on Netflix right now about like
yes,
her experience, right? And maybe some similarities there in what Cameron Diaz's character experienced. But yeah, no, that's definitely a big cultural component to everything we saw in her interactions and things like that. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. Especially with the mayor and just how they were just like, you pretty much got to pipe down, girl. You don't know what you're talking about yet. Get acclimated, and then you might be able to make some demands right here.
Go along to get along.
Yeah. And and that was real. I mean, it was real though, because it's like it's literally, you have to play the game off the field too in their roles. And I think she just kind of coasted on the fact that this was her father's, situation. It was like, my dad. But no, now you have to set the tone for yourself, and what you really are going to bring to the table for the team. So yeah, she had a lot to learn. And I'm glad she gave kudos to Tony before he peaced out for teaching her lessons.
I have a question, because speaking about the one of the many arguments between Miss Pancati, Pancinati, Panda, between her and Coach Tony was whether or not Shark should play. And wanted to see where you guys, if you diagnosed Shark, just what your thoughts and prognosis are for Shark.
Yes. I have a diagnosis for him. First and foremost, I was annoyed with her. I was annoyed with Coach. I was annoyed with the sketchy doctor. Oh my, like and that was that feeling of frustration in watching the movie, was like, he really gave zero fucks about, his well-being, or both players, their injuries and
anyone's well-being.
Anyone. He's like, everybody's going to play and I'm just going to sign off on it. And then trying to get the other doctor to be like, hey, look, stay in your lane. I'm being shady over here. I got a scam to run. Mind your business.
Ethics. What are that? What are those? I
do no harm. I was like, he quoting do no harm. And you know exactly what it is that you're doing, you fucker. And so, yeah. So with Shark, poor Ting, substance use disorder, opioid use disorder, because what did he ask for, another shot of that cortisol? Am I saying that? No, that's stress.
Please.
Please. Is it cortisol?
Please. He said cortisone.
Cortisone.
That was more so. Remember in the Temptations, where Blue was getting shot in the knee? That.
Give me the shot. Just give me the shot. Why they gotta sound like that? That's why I'm like, substance use.
Desperation.
It's desperation.
Right.
Yeah. Also, side note, when I saw that man have a reaction to that enema, was it an enema he had? And he had to call that man out the stall because he had to go release himself.
I don't know if it was an enema. I just know that he had that drip, and
he had the drip, and that made
the
him
liquids, and maybe he just really had to go.
Oh, my God. I was like, football
coming down off of the game, all of that, all of these things are settling.
I never imagined what it was like in the locker room after a football game. But after seeing that, I'm traumatized, and I would never.
And so my thing was that the one doctor was just an intern. Yeah, he was in the bathroom with that man holding the bag. And I just would like to thank Dr. Goodson so much for my position as an intern and not having to be in the bathroom with nobody holding their drip bag while they have explosive diarrhea.
Different culture.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different culture for sure. So I'm sorry, I got us a little off track, but with Shark, definitely substance use disorder, opioid use disorder. I would say moderate to severe. So I feel like it increased. And the part that made it really, that made it really critical for me to give something like the attention to it is like the fact that he was driven by the financial need and his identity as a football player. And then on top of that, I will say that I do want to add something around brain injury, like the traumatic brain injury, because he definitely broke his neck and his behaviors again. Like he has some serious behaviors, but the painkillers, you know, all of that. I think that was really. I think he's like borderline on like neurocognitive area, like having a disorder in that area.
I agree with all the things that you listed. I felt that the potential CTE might be the overarching thing and why we are seeing all of the other things. And so I more so went that route and allowed everything else to fall under that umbrella, with the other specified mental disorder due to another medical condition, with that being the CTE, from having experienced all of and they talk about, even Jim Brown is telling him, like, have you ever seen boxers who retire that are punchy and they're like, is that what you want for yourself? The doctor is telling him the potential for paralysis, for sudden death on the field. And he's like, I had to make this $1 million. I hear that. I understand that. I receive it. I got to make this $1 million. I got 4 kids. And so just kind of navigating that. But I did put all of that under the larger umbrella of the CTE, with the other specified mental disorder due to another medical condition.
Mm-hmm. So in your experience, and this is for both you and Courtney or Dr. Copeland, how do we approach athletes with potential neurocognitive trauma? Or what has been your experience in approaching work with them?
I mean, assessment is key. You know, I can't speak to the pro experience specifically, but I know in the collegiate atmosphere, there's pre-participation physicals and screenings. Not only the physical components, but we do a mental health and wellness one. It's mandated by the NCAA.
Nice.
However, you know, there are different units and spaces that can engage with that type of assessment, right? They have academic coordinators, people that spend time with them, where they may be able to observe these neurocognitive challenges more frequently or in a different capacity than a psychology professional. And so it's helping, it's not only the sports psych professional, but other people in the context to know kind of what are the signs or the things that you're looking for, and to be able to facilitate an effective referral and talk about the reasons why and the domains that might be impacted. That's what makes the difference. And it's tough too, because I think, you know, I don't want to frame this as a neurocognitive deficit, but we talk about like the existence of ADHD in student athletes. It's really interesting, or in athletes in general. That's in the college setting, it's often tied to grades, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, the person's getting good grades, then like, oh, there's no way they have ADHD, even though we know that the impacts of ADHD can exist in so many domains and ways outside of your ability to do well in school, right? We talk about emotional regulation. We talk about retention of information. We talk about behaviors, things of that nature. And so people got to know what to look for from a neurocognitive perspective in order to be able to start that process of getting them connected to the right people and facilitating referral.
I think same in ed. I think that it would be, you would approach an athlete the same way that you would approach another individual with a traumatic brain injury. And what are the goals? What are you working towards in that moment? What is it? Are we looking? Because that is also something where that is not, you can't undo it. And you can slow the progression of it getting worse, but you can't undo the situation. And so how is this individual mitigating the symptoms? Because there are going to be some parts of the brain that are impacted at a level to which they can't manage things at the certain capacity that they once could. And so, okay, so where are we right now, and how do we move forward with what we can do? And kind of navigating that the same way that you would with any individual, whether it was a car accident or any other thing that caused someone to have a traumatic brain injury. I think it's a similar thing. And so approaching the athlete the same way, what is it that you are trying to obtain? Is that a realistic goal for where we are right now? Do we have the things the resources to be able to achieve that? What does that look like? How do we get there? And how do we manage mood, behavior, all of that in the in-between? Just kind of navigating that with them. Again, like Dr. Goodson said, having more so experience in the collegiate setting than the pro setting, I think that it is luckily not something that I have had a lot of experience to where it is at a severe level where it's impacting the person to an extent where they aren't functioning in whether it's academically, socially, the different areas of life. But I have had, especially when I worked in academics, athletes forgetting things and saying, "I'm sorry, Miss Courtney, that's the CTE." And I'm like, "Oh my God, don't say that. Please, Lord, that's not funny. That's not funny. That's not funny." But it is something that they are aware of. And so with kind of just putting the lens back on even how we look at the film, where there's like, they are saying, yeah, but I got to make this money. Like my overarching goal is larger than the risks in this moment, where these athletes are saying, this is my access to education. This is my ability. This is how I progress my life forward. And so I'm aware of the risks. And I'm going to use humor to deal with the fact that I probably am subjecting myself to some level of harm, but here we are.
He said, "Don't drown me. I'm worth $1 million."
With his gold teeth, I need those for graduation. I need some gold teeth for graduation. I have to work on this.
Oh, don't drop me. I'm worth $1 million, because that's one of those quotes, right? Like, there aren't a ton of them, but that one sticks out.
Yeah, it does, right? And I think one of the things that stood out and just kind of looking into like a deeper dive into the movie was learning that that the NFL didn't want any type of association with the movie, which is why they had to come up with these different names and the colors and things like that. And I'm wondering if that also might have played with that decision, and we're speculating, with that decision.
We're talking about the conspiracies by the man.
Yes. Like, was this intentional? Like, was it because it was so like foretelling of some of the inner workings of football that it was like, yeah, no, this is not showing us in a good light. We're good. But I mean, the reality of it is this was a thing. This exists and still is a thing. I think they're probably doing a little better. Like I heard you say, NCAA requires mental health screenings, but is that the same for pro football as well?
No, that's not the same for pro football. And there's, I only know enough to be dangerous, so I gotta be careful here. But there's a mandate that each organization provides a minimum of 12 hours of access to a mental health professional. Some organizations will simply provide contracted access. Some organizations will hire someone in-house. It even still, there's a culture of mistrust in engaging with the provider that's in-house because is information being shared with the organization? Which the answer is generally no, right? Because of privacy, confidentiality, yet at the same time, the optics of it aren't good.
And you might have a shiesty provider like this team doctor that the Sharks had.
Oh my God, that man.
Yeah, no, it's something else.
Yeah.
Too, like thinking about the NFL and desire to distance from, I forget what their stance on concussion was, but I think it was similar. Right? With Will Smith playing Dr. Omalu. I feel like that's it. That's the quote from that movie. But I think that there is that dynamic, right? Like you're saying, Dr. Britton, of there are people who have used their creative license to show this is how it is in these spaces. And it'd be nice if the organization acknowledged it, yet the organization's going the other direction of like, no, we're not supporting, endorsing, etc. But people see it, and especially like in this day and age where so much more information is available and people are, coming on podcasts and being interviewed and documentaries being made, we are learning like, no, this is exactly how it was, if not worse.
If not worse, yeah.
It's interesting how the NFL continues to, it's not interesting how it continues to function. Like, sport is a social institution, right? Like we talked at the beginning of the podcast, right? Like, sport is a social institution. It, can be equated to a religion. Like, it's always going to be there. Just because somebody's telling the truth and displaying this is what it looks like in the context, this is what happens, doesn't mean that they're wrong, and it doesn't mean that sport is bad in some people's eyes too. So
that was the one thing that I absolutely loved about Willie Beeman, is that even in his first interview, like, he is being bombarded and pushed for interviews immediately out of the gate. after winning just 1 and 2 games. Like, I don't know how he lost his head after just winning 2 games, but okay. But in that, he still was speaking to the exploitation that is happening of players, the influence of class, race, dynamics, power. He is speaking to all of those things in his interviews. And I just appreciate him so much because as with him being able to see the different, especially with his experiences of coming off of the bench and then moving into a starting position, how he is able to see how the different ways that those dynamics play out in the NFL and in the sports setting. And it was just really awesome. And I fully knew that the NFL did not want anything to do with the movie once I saw how terrible the uniforms was, that those Knights uniforms were the worst idea of a uniform I have ever seen in my entire life. Just ugly.
Who came up with the pyramid and the eye for the other team? I was like, this is so... And then the football player lost his eye. Like, how ironic was that? Like...
That was a little movie cheesy. That's real. That was like, come on, y'all could have done better than that.
His eyeball was on the field. Like, get out of here. Like, that was a bit much. But Coach Tony actually said something too in terms of like, one of the quotes is, it's TV, it changed everything, changed the way we think forever. And I think because once it be TV, just like technology, just like every advance that we've made with technology so far, is really changing how we consume and appreciate television, or just, you know, the art of a sport, you know, or appreciating a sport. And so for that, I'm wondering, do you think that because it is, I'm not going to even ask that question because I know the answer. I do feel like because it is monetized, because it is televised, that there's a lot of, you know, backdoor things that they are willing to kind of sacrifice. As we can see in the movie, we're sacrificing the mental and well-being of our players for the sake of entertainment. And that part, again, made me really upset in seeing that in this movie too.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how candid I want to be. I mean,
sir, don't you ruin your future on our show.
Money has been the reason that so much of what we've thought we've understood to be pure about sport is compromised. I mean, I even think about, and this is getting a little more sports sociology on it, and part of, you know, my diving into Any Given Sunday and whatnot. Y'all remember Friday Night Tykes? The Netflix show, talking about Pop Warner football, and all that. And, you know, this early specialization in sport is because of how we have seen this crafted in the media to how much money is in there to people believing this is a pathway for social mobility, right? And so if this is the pathway of social mobility we talked about earlier in the podcast, then yeah, give me the shot. Or, yeah, I don't care that I'm, you know, making my kids play tackle football at age 6 because this is his way to the league, right? Or to college, right? And you think about pre-NIL, you know, it was not just a vehicle for social mobility in terms of getting access to higher education, but now it's higher education with payment.
Yeah, that was a whole thing too. Like, college athletes not getting paid, and which college athletes should be paid, because we all know that football and basketball are the ones who are bringing in the ticket sales. So shouldn't they be getting paid? And, you know, equity between athletes and college level.
Ongoing debacle.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Ongoing debacle.
Last person. No. I got one in a possible as far as diagnosis. And so I was thinking about my possible is Cap. And what definitely, if I was seeing him for therapy, we could definitely look at the Z code of the loss of job because of the injury, aging out. He is 39, which is like ancient in football, where the average age of retirement is 30. And so for him to be 39 and still be at a high level of performance is something that is notable, and why they wanted him as the face of the team and all of that. I'm also concerned about some of the things that he said when Coach went to his house to go talk to him. I'm concerned that his wife slapped the shit out of him because he wanted to make a decision that was best for himself.
Yes.
Talk about it.
I was so confused. I said, did she really just slap this man? Like, get slap out of
You
here.
a football player.
I need your money. That's what it gave. That's what it gave.
Right like that.
Bitch, are you the manager?
Get back on stage.
Oh my goodness.
You
Jeez.
pimp?
That was bad.
You should have fought for that superstar line. Like, okay, and thinking about all of that and how she was putting all of that immense level of pressure on him on top of all of the pressure that he was already experiencing, how he was pushing himself to recovery, all of those different things, how he was still a little bit traumatized from the experience of the injury and said that I might fold if I get back out there, and kind of being aware of that. And then also some of the things that he said, like, sometimes I can barely hold a spoon. I'm taking all of these medications. I got the shakes. And so just wondering, that was definitely my possible of like, what did you guys think about Cap, if at all? And do they allow him to retire with grace and dignity for a prognosis? Or as soon as he retired, does his wife leave him? Like, what do y'all see for Cap?
Bye, Felicia. Like, I really do hope she gone by herself and find herself another young football player to slap around like that. Because no, the prognosis for me is that he actually continues to advocate for himself, because he was really saying, it's my body. It is my body. I know how I feel. I know what I can handle. I know what I can take. And everybody's telling him, no, we got you. I won't let you get hurt. How you going to tell me that, coach? You ain't on the field. that really made me angry. What you talking about, Willis? Like, this ain't going to work. So there's that part. I do feel like he's going to continue to advocate for himself, which would mean that he retires healthy. And that would also have an impact on his relationship with his ex-wife now, because she gone. Unless they go to marital counseling, and I doubt that's going to help.
That ain't going to fix it.
It ain't.
That ain't going to fix it. I wish I had the criteria in front of me, but we're moving towards PTSD with.
Can read the criteria for you, sir.
That would be great, because I think about, I mean, obviously the flashbacks piece of it, but we just saw the flashbacks to the one injury we saw in the film.
Right.
I think the career was the nerve pain and things of that nature, how long that had been going on. I would not be surprised if that was present. Right? We talk about, I mean, I can't remember, did it allude to disturbances in sleep? And like, I just think that there's some criteria there that would fit that. Even though it may not be what immediately comes to mind for people as they see the situation that he's in relationship-wise and coach talking to him.
Mm-hmm. And so according to the DSM-5 TR, this structural form oppressive book that we utilize to categorize people, to give them different labels that then will be held against them for the rest of their entire lives. It says that the criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder is, well, for him, I'm going to read off some of the ones that I feel like are most fitting given the what you shared about his experience. Directly experiencing the traumatic event of exposure to actual or threatened serious injury. The intrusion symptoms with recurrent involuntary and intrusive memories of the traumatic event. Recurring, we don't know if he necessarily had any dreams related to those, so that could speak to some of the sleeps that you are talking about. The dissociative reactions, such as the flashbacks, where the individual feels as if the traumatic event were recurring. Intense or prolonged psychological distress at exposure to internal or external cues that symbolize resemblance of the traumatic event, and marked physiological reactions to the internal or external cues that symbolize the actual event. There also is the persistent avoidance of stimuli. So that is the avoidance or efforts to avoid the distressing memories or the reminders that arouse distressing memories, thoughts, or feelings about or closely associated with the traumatic event. The negative symptoms, as far as the inability to remember important aspects, the persistent exaggerated negative beliefs or expectations about oneself or of the world, where he's saying, like, if I go back out there, I'm going to fold, I can't do it. the distortions of cognition, negative emotional state, marked diminished interest or participation in significant activities, feeling of detachment or estrangement from others, inability to experience positive emotions. And then there are some of the marked alterations in arousal and reactivity, which can be irritability, angry outbursts, hypervigilance, problems with concentration. And there we go again, that sleep disturbance as well. And so those are some of the criteria that he definitely displayed in his presentation during the film.
Yeah, I think of that scene where he was in practice and, have the red jersey on so he wasn't going to get hit, right? And then it shows you him, the hypervigilance and he can't focus on anything. And it's like, hey, calm down, nobody going to hit you, right?
Yeah.
And so that made me think of it along with some of the other criteria you read off, just show up in different ways in the movie, so...
Yeah, I felt really bad for him. I was just like, he really just wanted to get out, and nobody was really trying to hear him on that. And he's like, no, but I can imagine that there's a lot of athletes that probably do feel that way. And then they kind of sucker themselves into believing I'm okay. And then go into a game and further injure themselves. And I feel like that's a common story, both in collegiate and pro sports. So,
and one thing that you said is you feeling bad for him. That is one thing that I don't think that those specific athletes often get sympathy for. Like I'm thinking about like Drew Brees, Brett Favre, like those type. Everybody feeling bad for them. But they're also not most people aren't aware of the level of the stress that they're experiencing in their everyday actual lives.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, for him, he didn't have the same thing as Shark as far as the financial piece. It was just more. And then when he said he was going to go on one of the networks, she was like, but you're a football player. He already had a plan. He was ready to pivot and create his retirement plan. And it wasn't that he was just going to fall off and become a drug addict and an alcoholic. He was ready to go and do something and was told, no, we need you.
And that hoe said no, because her identity was a football wife. Yes. You saw how she interacted in the time there with Vanessa at the party. She wouldn't even shake her hand, introduce herself to her, speak to her, acknowledge her presence at all. Said it doesn't matter until you're married. Her identity was being threatened with him trying to make a decision that is best for himself, their family, his well-being, all of that. And so, like you said, bye, Felicia. She could go.
She can go. She was not a good wife at all.
She got him to this point. She served her purpose. She lived her season.
She was there for a season and a reason, child.
Both of which have ended. Bye, ho. And so
that's real. Thumbs up.
My last one that I had, well, first, did anyone have anyone else that they wanted to make sure that we spoke about? I only have one more.
No.
I just wanted to talk about Julian LL Cool J stimulant use disorder, moderate cocaine specifically.
I forgot that. Him gargling champagne was hilarious to me. I'm going to try.
Gargling it and then spitting it in that girl's face?
That was rude. He was a dick. Actually, if we could come up with a diagnosis and being just like an asshole, is there a diagnosis for that?
But he was high. He had just snorted cocaine off of some woman's titty. He was high as a kite.
Yeah, he was high as hell.
And my concern is that when he was in the coach's office talking about, hey, if Beeman is not, playing the sport the way that we as a team play, and he's going to get certain things, that I don't get my stats, I don't get my stats, I don't get my money, I don't get my money. I can't afford my cocaine, coach.
He was fly, though. He was fly.
You see them glasses? I need those.
Bruh.
I need those.
All of them. All of the glasses. All the accessories. I need them all. He was fly. Even that hat that he wore with that shirt. Looking like it was a Coochie shirt. I love it. Ooh. I love his style in this movie. I ain't gonna
that Versace. Yes. With the bright colors. Oh, I loved it. And I loved when he had on the FUBU do-rags. I said, you better represent LL Cool J.
Okay. And who told him to put the damn markings like that around the glasses when he said something to coach, like, I want to support you, coach, like
It was almost like Reebok lines. I was like, is that his sponsor? Is that who he
it was. That was his sponsors, actually. Yes. It was. That's good. I'm glad you caught that. That's hilarious. Yeah, he was a hot ass mess.
I loved it though. Until he spit that champagne in that woman's face. I said, oh, the disrespect. That's worse than when Nino Brown said, "Give it to this bitch." So you pour it on my head, then spit it in my face.
Yeah.
Hey, Lord.
A different level.
It's a different level.
It's a different level.
And you know,
party. So I got to leave this bathroom and walk through the party. I got to walk to my car with champagne spit dripping from my nostrils.
hold up. But what's worse, the champagne spit or being on the floor giving oral on the toilet? Nobody.
I'd go champagne spit. I say champagne spit because you volunteered. Like, he sat down on that toilet and you said, okay, I'm with it. You could have leaned him up against the wall. You let him sit down on that toilet and have a conversation with somebody else. Like, what you doing isn't world changing for his experience in life. Like, he should be concentrating on what is happening for that he is lucky to receive. And instead, he is having a whole conversation with somebody else on the other side of the room. Sir, concentrate.
That is infinitely worse. You're right. That is infinite. Well, no. Well.
So I feel like
the level of disrespect.
But you continued to perform while he did that. So you signed up for that. You allowed it. That other woman did not know that she was going to get spit in the face when she came in there and was like, hey, what are you doing? Like, we came to this party together. Like, what? And you're in here. There's used condoms on the scene.
And they hung it up like it was like laundry.
Decoration.
Oh, God.
What?
Now, next person got to come in there and there's cocaine residue everywhere. What if you just came to wash your hands and this
cocaine?
That's not the bathroom. That's
one hell of a party, I tell you that. He said, don't leave no blood or semen.
He said, she go public.
Oh my God, it seemed worse than a Diddy party. Goodness. Hey,
everyone there was overage, so I don't know about worse.
You right. Funny fact, he was supposed to be Willie in this movie.
Did he?
Yeah, but couldn't throw a ball to save his life. It was like he wasn't going to be.
But why I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not neither, and I'm glad that they decided against that.
Yeah. Yeah, they was trying to coach him, and yeah, he was not coachable at all because it was clear that he's never thrown or caught a ball in his life. I mean, maybe not that kind of ball.
Take that.
Wow. But then we would have missed out on the Willie Beeman.
My name is Willie Beeman. It would have been different.
There's no way Diddy does.
My name is Willie Beeman.
He would have had that down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, yeah. No, I don't think it would have given this the chef's kiss. It really is required.
And then we also wouldn't have the legend that is the fight between Jamie Foxx and LL Cool J, which I think is the most important thing about the whole film. So, with all of that said, Dr. Goodson, any final thoughts, things that you would like to share, final revelations about the film Any Given Sunday, and its very honest depiction of literally any given Sunday?
I loved how we took a psychology angle to this. Obviously, I know that's the point of the podcast, but there's a lot of sports sociology in it too, like masculinity and norms of a sport and navigating gender in a certain environment, certain roles, things of that nature. It's just a lot to pull from the movie. So that's part of why I labeled it a classic at the beginning. I don't know if Dr. Britton has changed her stance on it after this.
That was my next question. So, Dr. B.
But yeah.
Yeah, it is a classic. I am grateful to have experienced this movie with you all and being able to talk it out. And, obviously I think the disdain for it at first was really just the treatment of the players. I was like, how y'all gonna do them like this? And really getting that background of what it really looks like. And that's just the harsh reality of what sports look like in America.
So I was going to say that exactly. Might I suggest that you be angry and have that disdain directed towards the exploitation of athletes in this country, as opposed to this wonderful piece of art?
Yes. So
riddled with man butt.
Yes,
it's our favorite thing.
It is.
Sorry, Dr. Goodson. Okay, so if you would like to support the show to help us get more content out to you all, you can visit our website and follow the Support the Show link to become a Patreon member or donate on our Cash App. Now, while we are happy to get the kind of money that jingles, we would rather the kind that folds. As always, be sure to follow us on Instagram at the DSM Podcast, and you can subscribe to our show wherever you get podcasts. While you're there, first, buy some merch, but also go ahead and leave us a comment because we are counselors and actually care about what you have to say. Until next time, y'all, peace.
Okay, bye, you cinephiles.